Chapter 1044, where Luffy awakened his devil fruit for the first time, is one of the most hyped chapters in the whole series. After the time skip, we can all agree that Luffy has gotten a lot stronger, and almost all the power-ups that he had have been more or less explained how they worked. We saw Luffy's Gear 4 and its different forms. Gear 4 blows up his muscles with a lot of air and combines Haki and rubbery properties. We saw Boundman, Tankman, and Snakeman, and each form had its own original attacks. For example, Snakeman had Jet Culverin, Black Mamba, King Cobra, and more. We also know that Luffy's every attack and power-up is due to Luffy's own creativity, so I'm sure we will see different forms of Gear 5 as well. Luffy used Gear 5 for the first time, and we saw that that form also seems to force his heart to beat at an extremely rapid rate, to the point where it almost gives out on him during the fight against Kaido. Such a dangerous side effect isn't one that should be taken lightly, especially with Luffy's previous forms also straining his heart. This, of course, is all based on context clues from the fight against Kaido, since no official explanations or answers have yet been given on Gear 5. Even Gear 4 needed a lot of energy at the start. When Luffy was fighting Don Flamingo and used Gear 4 for the first time, he needed a 10-minute rest. We probably have the same situation here, given how Luffy has just discovered this new form. He'll very likely learn how to control it better and will discover new forms. Gears 2nd through 4th are the result of Luffy being creative with his body's stretchiness. They are not forms granted to him in the way that Chopper's are. We have only seen Luffy's base form, his equivalent to Chopper's walk point, and his Nika form, his equivalent to strong point. Gear 5 is different. It grants the user's rubber-like body increased strength and freedom, allowing them to fight in any way they please. It is for this reason that the user is said to become the warrior of liberation, bringing joy and freedom to those around them. And this fruit's power being described as the most ridiculous power in the world. His hair and clothes turn white, his eyes glow with red ring-like pupils, and white clouds float around his neck. It looks like a scarf. This scarf looks more and more visible if we compare Gear 2, Gear 4, and Gear 5. I was looking into Japanese history and accidentally stumbled upon the religions in Japan, and something made a huge impression. In the Shinto religion in Japan, some gods are traditionally pictured with similar scarves floating. As an example, we can check the god of wind, Fujin. He is depicted holding a bag of winds. Fujin usually has a messy appearance and wild hair from all the wind, relating to the floating hair of Gear 5 and other gears as well. Fujin, the god of wind, often depicted as an Oni with a bag slung over his shoulder. He is thought to be one of the oldest gods present at the creation of the world, where he let loose his winds to clear the mists between heaven and earth, letting the sun's light reach the world. The first part of the quote, the god, depicted as an Oni aka demon, fits the monster demon trio theme, and the second part of the quote tells us what Luffy is going to do at the end of the series. He let loose his winds to clear the mists between heaven and earth, letting the sun's light reach the world, defeating the world government and letting the light shine on the whole world again. As a nickname, Warrior of Liberation fits this part perfectly. So to summarize this section, the inspiration for Luffy's gears, and mainly Gear 5, seems like it's taken from the Shinto religion and Fujin, and a trademark for that is the air scarf around Luffy. Plus, it won't be the first time that Oda has taken inspiration from religion for his characters. But here it gets even more exciting. All the observations made until now are for his current forms, and this is Luffy's air elemental form. What if he adds an extra element in that form? If you remember, in the beginning of the introduction, I mentioned that almost all power-ups until now have been explained. The ones that are not explained are how in the world is Luffy able to produce fire and thunder with his punches. I am referring to Luffy's red hawk, and we can notice that the fire is represented around his arms like a spiral, similar to the air scarf that I talked about, but in this case it is like a fire scarf. And another attack is the Thor elephant gun against Dan Chinjiao. Some might argue that the electricity created there is from the impact, but why would the name of the attack be connected with Thor, the god of lightning in Nordic mythology? If it is named like that, it must be expected that it creates lightning, so we have no explanation of how these elements are controlled or created, but it seems it is related to Haki, and maybe only the ones able to use Conqueror's Haki are able to use these elements. Yes, I believe the real power of Conqueror's Haki is controlling the weather. I even made a theory about this 5 years ago. Both Shanks and Whitebeard are strong users of the King's Haki. The result of high-level Conqueror's Haki clashing, the clouds split. Roger was cornered by Shiki, his rival, and many thought it would be his end, but a storm flew by and Roger's crew escaped while half of Shiki's navy was destroyed. I believe the lightning which fell on Buggy and saved Luffy in Loguetown was made by Dragon's Conqueror's Haki. It would be a very impossible coincidence that lightning just fell at the right time and place. Also, I believe King's Haki must have a better power than just knocking out weak ones, because only a few characters can use it. I believe strong users of King's Haki can control the weather. Let's return back to Gear 4. Luffy might actually combine his current air elemental form with other elements. Specifically talking about that, we might actually have a nice foreshadowing clue pointing in that direction. This Wano artwork shows us Luffy with a fire scarf. Of course, Oda could not draw Gear 5 for that time, so he drew Gear 4 Luffy. Wano plus Gear 5 plus fire scarf may be nice foreshadowing. That fits perfectly into all the clues that have been provided earlier in the theory. So we can expect new Gear 5 forms in combinations of air plus fire elements and air plus lightning elements. I will be very excited if Luffy uses Gear 5 Red Hawk in the future. Also, as I said, Luffy gears are not literally gears, they are the product of Luffy's imagination. In reality, he only has two forms, normal Luffy and awakened Luffy, so there is a high chance that in the future we will see Luffy using Gear 4 in his awakened form. If he adds fire or lightning elements to this power, he will become invincible. As I said, he needs time to master his awakening, but I am sure it won't take long before we see Luffy's new powers. We may see it even at Egghead Island. If Saturn is as strong as we expect, then Luffy has no other choice than to use his whole power. Also, unlike Paramecia awakenings, Zoan awakenings like Gear 5 carries the inherent risk of the innate nature of the animal that the Gomu Gomu no Mi is derived from, namely the sun god Nika, consuming Luffy's mind. I don't know why, but I believe at some point Luffy will lose his mind and go mad like Chopper did at Enies lobby. He will become overpowered and he will destroy everything around him, maybe even the Red Line. Of course, someone will save him at the end, but it will be really interesting if we see Luffy in this state. Write what you think about this theory down in the comments. Hope you enjoyed and don't forget to subscribe. Bye.